Yo, we're back. It's the Orange Bloods Live postgame show. Texas has defeated Texas A&M 17-7. Sorry for the audio problems there if you've been hanging out with us. The show brought to you by Adam Lowe, the law firm. If you have been messed up and you need to sue somebody because they have injured you or hurt you or maimed you, Adam Lowe will get you paid. And the fact that he's been with us for a decade is good proof of that. Texas Longhorns 17-7 are going to the SEC championship game. They've beaten Texas A&M. It was for 30 minutes, one of the best halves of football, Jason Sukamel, that I think Texas has played all season. Really almost perfect in the first half. Kind of a dominating second half performance as well, and yet they don't score any points. They let A&M back into the game in ways that I think they'll certainly talk about in the locker room and certainly in the weeks to come, the mistakes that were made. You don't want to make that against Georgia in an SEC championship game. But the bottom line is Texas did what it needed to do. Trey Wisner was awesome. This defense looked like the best defense in the country today, Jason. And it needed to be because the Texas offense shut down, not completely, but they didn't score any points. They got into the red zone twice, pick six, fumble. They just couldn't put their foot down on Texas A&M's throat. And yet the defense was like, no problem, we've got this. And as long as you – no more pick sixes, and don't let the block punt go for a touchdown. But as long as you guys keep them out of the end zone, we're going to go to the SEC championship game. And the defense was right. It was a mixed performance. But at the end of the day, I know it's late. And I know people have been drinking. And I know that it's –
people at the card house.
And yeah, we are at the Texas Card House Social, by the way. Thanks to those guys. It's been an eventful watch party. There'll be a lot of people who will focus on what happened in the second half. And the longer the night goes, you drink, you remember the pick six, you remember the fumble, you remember all of those things, and sometimes you forget to focus on the big picture from 30,000 feet, which is Texas is playing in the SEC championship game. They went into College Station tonight, into the Lions' Den, and they were just so much better than Texas A&M. They mopped the floor with that team. I think it's a really good performance, even if it wasn't a perfect performance.
Defense pitches a shutout, right? Offense was really good in the first half. Honestly, they're pretty good in the second half. They ran the ball pretty well, moved the ball down the field, like you said, with two big red zone turnovers. I mean, this is a game Texas probably should have won by 24, maybe even more than that catch. But it's kind of like it was a Florida game or something with Chad and I was here. So I'm not going to nitpick this thing too much. I mean, 17-7 doesn't look as sexy as it probably could have and should have. If you look at the stats, Texas 458 yards, 244 total yards from A&M. I mean, Texas dominated this game. It's kind of what I thought all year, and even coming into this game. I got a little nervous before the games. I didn't know what version of Quinn Ewers we were going to get, and ended up we got two different versions of Quinn. But Texas is just clearly the better team. They just are. I mean, this A&M offense is not good. Texas certainly wasn't flawless. The Texas offense can be a little hit or miss sometimes, but this is clearly the better team. I mean, A&M, I said it during the week, they didn't have any business being in the conversation for the conference championships. Texas took care of business. Yeah, but just what a fun night of football. I mean, fun night here at the Card House. Awesome venue as always. Just so good to have this rivalry back. I just so thankful.
I don't know that Aggies.
Well, yeah,
and
I said, hey, great to have the rivalry back. Great to go into their stadium again, right? And just humiliate them, kind of humiliate them. So great night for Texas football fans. And yes, we can nitpick this win a little bit. But you know what? You're right. Focus on the big picture. You're going to the SEC championship game. Celebrate the fact that you're in College Station and put the Aggies in their place.
And Texas will be a favorite next weekend, I think, in the SEC championship game. They're a better team than Georgia week in and week out this season. They weren't when they met in Austin last week.
But what version of Texas are we going to get? The first half or the second? I mean, Georgia's barely escaped their game.
I think it's the story of college football right now is the inability for teams, all of the best teams in college football have a real hard time putting together four really good quarters. It has let teams – it happened tonight. You know, you let teams back into games that they shouldn't be in. Miami loses today to Syracuse. I think that was a game they were up 21-0, and you just teams have found it really hard this season in college football. Play 4 quarters. I don't think we're seeing any great teams, and I don't think Texas is a great team right now. But it's a great defense, and it's a team that gets a lot of really good. And tonight, a great individual effort from Trey Wisner. You know, there's so many guys I want to give shout outs to. Let's do some super chats because they've been coming in fast and furious, and I don't want. Matter of fact, if my phone doesn't lock up here, we'll just start $49.99 from Paul.
Hey, my man Paul.
What up, Paul? Thank you so much for getting us started. Texas second halves are aging me decades lately. O-line, even Gooseby dominated. Wisner MVP of the game, and D was dominant. Double-digit win sends little brother back to the corner.
Yeah, Wisner was fantastic. I said in my postgame, Wisner offensive MVP, Vernon Broughton defensive MVP. Vernon Broughton had the game of his life tonight. But hey, Paul, man, I'm so happy they won by double digits. I've been predicting that since September. I've stuck to my guns.
You're going to tell us that for like the next
you're
9
damn right
months.
I am. I was sweating there a little bit at the end. I was like, oh, crap, catcher, you're going to get a field goal.
But take that glory away from you.
Yeah, but, I mean, truly, they won by double digits, which was nice, but probably should have won by a hell of a lot more. But, yeah, all good points, Paul. Really good win by Texas. Wisner was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, what a game by Trey Wisner. You know, we talked about it during the game. It's like, this guy came out of DeSoto where he wasn't even necessarily the clear starter by the end of his senior year. He was a guy that people thought was more of a just kind of a
he was like a utility back.
Utility back, exactly. Change of pace back. And now this dude runs tough. He's elusive. I mean, he's an every down back with a very bright future, maybe even beyond college football. So good for Trey Wisner.
I have been saying for most of the year that Texas needs to go into the portal to find a starting running back because the goal at every position that you have on the field is to have one of the best. You want All-Americans. You want all conference level players. And if you're at Texas and you have guys that are starting that aren't that good, then you want to upgrade them. The last couple of weeks, Trey Wisner has played like a guy that might finish with 1,000 yards when it's all said and done. Texas might get its 1,000-yard running back this season. He's getting closer and closer. I can say nothing other than he was the man tonight. He was really – there were shades of Ricky Williams in 1995. Ricky was a true freshman that night when he comes in. But, it was – by the end of the game, you didn't want Texas to do anything other than to give the ball to Trey Wisner. And they got themselves in trouble when they kind of went away with it. I think the real turning point of the game is obviously the pick six. It's 3rd and 4. Inside, I think, 7-yard line. You've got 2 plays. At the time, Wisner was averaging 7 yards a rush.
He said, if this is 4-down territory, I said, then run the ball twice.
Run the ball twice. If they stop you, then they stop you. But the last thing you want to do is put the ball in the air in a way that allows it to go the other way. That happens. We'll get into Quinn Ewers in a little bit. There's a Ewers who's so good in the second quarter. And it wasn't the ankle. It didn't feel like throughout the rest of the game. But it was kind of, in a way, it was kind of a quintessential Quinn Ewers performance. Spectacular in the second quarter. And then the rest of the game, statistically speaking, it wasn't great. And yet Texas was able and you know what? The second quarter was so good that maybe it's the way I judge Quinn tonight coming in playing. Like I will almost forget the bad and focus on the big run that he makes in the first quarter that sets up that first touchdown. And then he plays really well in the second quarter. But a fragmented performance. And yes, Bevo versus the world for 1999. Thank you very much.
He actually threw the ball okay in the second half. I mean, the pick six, of course, but the mistakes were just so close.
In the third quarter, I haven't looked it up yet, but in the third quarter, he was 6 of 10 for 76 yards and an interception. So it's a 103-64 quarterback rating for the quarter. 206-65 in the second quarter. And then in the first quarter, when he threw for -6 yards, he had a 49.9 rating. I did the article on Quinn where I broke down all and the trend for him since he's come back from the Oklahoma game is to play almost one spectacular quarter in every game. And then it's about he's got to stop being awful in the quarters. He's got to find a way to just be okay. And if that had happened tonight, if he just was okay in the third quarter,
this game by 21 points.
Or more, maybe, because they'll go up 24-0. And then maybe 24 becomes 31. They really dominated this game. The total yards, what were the total yards? What did they end up being? I know it was
458 for Texas, 244 for Texas, 240 rushing yards.
no, it was a dominating performance, and it was one where once they got up 17-0, I don't think the approach was wrong because I think Sark was on the verge of having them finished. But it just it wasn't a complete performance, and yet who cares? The Longhorns are victors by any means necessary, and they go next week to the SEC championship game. I can't stress that enough. That is just freaking awesome that Texas, in year one of the SEC, is in a position to play Georgia and to be they'll be the home team, if I'm not mistaken. They're the 1 seed, the only team in the SEC with only 1 loss. And tonight's performance might not win you a national championship because you probably got to play a higher brand of complete football for a little bit longer than they did. But there's no team in the country right now that I think is an obvious favorite over them when we start talking about 12-team tournament. Everybody that gets in is everybody that gets in. Texas has every bit as much of a chance right now to win a national championship as any other team in the country. They need to beat Georgia next week. It gets them in an incredible position. This team needs a week off. Quinn could use a week off. I think everybody after next week's game can use a week off. And the way you do that is by beating Georgia. And it'll probably take a little bit of a better performance than they had tonight. And yet, maybe not. I mean, Texas, the defense was so good. Carson Beck better get his shit together because he was awful in the first matchup. And this defense doesn't look like it wants to give anything up to anybody. And it is this team's superpower at this point in the season that they can just bank on no matter what happens. That group doesn't let other teams get into the end zone very often. They let Kentucky get into the end zone once last week. They didn't let anybody get into the end zone tonight. They come to play every week, and Pete Kwiatkowski deserves all of the flowers. Every player on that Texas defense deserves the flowers. And you won't hear any real negativity from me tonight. This was a huge win from recruiting purposes. This just neuters A&M from a head-to-head with Texas. They'll be able – and look, A&M will win some recruiting battles. They've got NIL money. This doesn't, I think, shift things dramatically. But I don't know that Texas completely needed it shifted dramatically. A&M did. Texas has the higher ground. They'll be able to say, look, you can go to A&M if you want to. But the program in the state that's gone to the playoff 2 years in a row, the one that in year one of the SEC is playing for the SEC championship, that program's in Austin. And look, Mike Elko, nice guy, good coach, probably have pretty good teams while he's there. If you want to go play and be pretty good, you can. I think there's a narrative that Texas will be able to sell to elite prospects that tonight really helps with. And you didn't want to give that up. You didn't want Elko and that A&M coaching staff in February to be able to say,
like we did in year one.
We beat them in year one and Sark's in year 4. And so,
well, you put it right. Texas had the higher ground, and they maintained the higher ground. They'll get A&M will get some guys. There's enough good talent in the state. They've got NIL things, so they'll recruit okay. But yeah, Texas has the higher ground. They maintain the higher ground. So big win on a lot of levels for Texas.
All right, guys, I'm going through the super chats right now. Just give me a second. I want to make sure that I don't miss anybody's before I start going to them because they're coming in fast and furious. In fact, I see one right here for $50 from Hooked on the Horns. I'll just go straight to it. We finished the first phase of the rivalry the way that we started it, and now we've started the second phase of the rivalry the same way. Be it P.S. That ugly-ass trophy stays in Austin. Hooked on the Horns, thank you very much. Yes, the ugly-ass trophy stays in Austin. My goodness, lots of super chats coming in. I promise you guys we'll get right to them. In fact, I'll just throw this one up there as well. David for $19.99 says, go UT, the UT Rio Grande Valley sister school.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that mascot.
No.
Agueros?
Yeah. Hey, I don't even know what to say. I want to say something, and yet I feel like I will just embarrass myself. You know what, Chris? You had a super chat way back there for $10. Texas dominated in every facet of the game. Buy or sell. The win felt inevitable halfway through the third quarter. Chris, I'll let Jason. Jason called time of death in the second quarter.
I might have been a little premature on that, but when they went into halftime in 17-0, I was like, and they're getting the ball to start the third quarter. I said, this game's over, time of death. But can I confess something? I took that out of my postgame write-up because it got a little closer.
I think you still ended up being right.
Yeah, well, I did end up. And I said, I never really felt like Texas was going to lose this game. It was a little uncomfortable in the fourth quarter for a minute there when they're
if that block punt goes for 7,
or when that fourth and goal for the 1, if Ethan Burke doesn't come in and make that play,
what a great play by
you. Obviously. But I never still really felt like Texas was going to lose this game. So Texas inevitable halfway through the third quarter. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
You have to forgive us, guys. Jason and I both are blind, it would seem. And you guys have no idea how small the fonts are that we're trying to read. Oscar. What up, Oscar? 1999. All Sark and company do is win. F the Aggies. Great night to be a Horn. Y'all rock. Oscar, you know what? There's something to be said for that. They're 11-1. They were 11-1 a year ago. This is their 11th straight road win. That is not all guppies. That's Alabama. That's Michigan. That's Texas A&M. That's Kansas State. They've gone into some really tough places, and then some. Arkansas. You start looking at it, and again, you're not gonna. This is a game that maybe a couple of weeks ago I would nitpick a little bit more because Quinn's got to be better than he was in the third quarter.
And listen, I said in my write-up, they could beat Georgia with this kind of performance because I don't know that Georgia's that great, but they cannot win a national championship with this kind of performance. You can't have the miscues that they had, take points off the board, the block punt. But I'm not going to nitpick this game. It's Saturday night. It's a fun day of football. Texas just beat A&M. First game back in this series. So,
well, and you know what? We haven't said it yet, but Quinn survives this game and doesn't feel like any worse for wear. We had competitors apparently in the pregame shows that were going on across YouTube land saying that we expected Arch Manning to start the game all week long, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And in the end, that didn't happen. And kind of what we said all week long. Look, on Sunday, Anwar Richardson was the only media guy in the market, even nationally, that reported that Quinn Ewers was having an MRI on the ankle. We reported in the middle of the week that the ankle wasn't 100%, but he was moving relatively well. And you know what? He did kind of move relatively well tonight.
I thought about this. Was there some gamesmanship in all these, because there were some leaks late in the week, Quinn's way worse than people believe, and Arch might start. Was that some gamesmanship? Maybe Sark's told someone, hey, leak this to the media that Quinn's more unhealthy than he really is because he ran the ball.
I think Quinn's camp said, just in case, the world's going to know what Quinn's working with here. That if he's great, know that he did it with a bad ankle, and if he's bad, because it's hard not to think. Look, Quinn Ewers played with Xavier Worthy. When Xavier Worthy played with a broken hand, Sark's not exactly the guy that goes out and will say, hey, just so you know, he's playing. He does that 3 months later. So at the end of the day, it probably doesn't matter. But I do think the gamesmanship was, I think Quinn's camp was like, look, rightfully so, too. I kind of get it. He's going out there. His ankle looked like RoboCop.
Oh, my goodness. That brace under the tape job. I was like, how the hell is he going to play with this thing? But it worked.
It did. It worked, and I thought he was really good in spurts. From what I saw tonight, he's got to play better.
I wonder how he'll feel after the game. He's going to need some ice and some TLC on that ankle. He ran the ball a lot more than you and I both expect.
No, I totally agree. 1999 Oscar, also a different Oscar, jumping in saying the defense was outstanding. The screens at the beginning were a little frustrating. Defense wins championships. Go Horns.
What do you have? -6 yards in his first 4 completions. Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
It wasn't great. Hold on. We got a $20 coming in from Chris B. I'm on the record about this. OU and Texas have insane sexual tension. It is no knock to me. No shock to me, excuse me, that Quinn is dating an OU girl, but A&M is lame and boring. Second cousin. The result was about right. A pretty easy dub. I think Chris is saying that A&M's missionary and OU is like anything goes.
I didn't quite know what the analogy was there, so
I landed the plane when it was all said and done there. I know you were worried, like, oh my God, what's the second half of this going to sound like? Guys, just give me a second here. There's some more super chats. I just want to make sure that I don't miss them. In fact, I'll just put this one up, 1999 from Thrawn. Quinn gutted it out and should earn more respect. Totally agree. OB fans throw him under the bus too often. He's never going to be perfect, but the kid shows up on the road. Judge him, but appreciate him before he's gone.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of wrote that, like, hey, he really gutted it out, especially like it's a third long run, and he runs towards it, on the bad angle, runs and dives for the first down. But then you can't ignore the two big mistakes. Those are what kept A&M in the ball. But it was a gutsy, gritty performance by Quinn Ewers. Good for him. They said it feel good for him. A lot of people call it for Arch starter, wanting Arch starter, who comes out and plays pretty well, other than honestly 2 big mistakes, but played pretty well overall. Obviously got the big road.
Another super chat. This one also coming from Oscar. Elko is a loser for not kicking the field goal. Really? Coach of the future, my behind. Can't wait till they have to beat Georgia next year, and everyone says they have to be better for the 20th game in a row.
What's up with Elko throwing that tantrum on? Is it the Cuba one that got overturned? Is that what
yeah.
That was ridiculous. I mean, that was nowhere near targeting. Big team. I like Elko. I think he's a good coach.
Where you been? I like that username, by the way. Should we really complain about the offense? Kesh, you were the only one in the offseason that questioned why we hadn't heard about the offense killing it. You told us, but no one listened. We are a defensive team, period.
In fact, I know he's talking to you, but before this fall camp began, we all thought this offense was going to be phenomenal. But remember, in fall camp, we were like, oh, everything weird is this defense is winning these scrimmages and things, and maybe we should be paying more attention.
Well, we did, I think. I think we when we saw those, we thought, okay, well, the defense is going to be good. I don't think any of us thought this was going to be anything close to the best defense in the country. There were question marks. Think about how well Vernon Broughton played tonight, and at the beginning of the season, it felt like he was a guy that maybe wasn't going to make it. Remember, he didn't play in the spring game. And people thought he was going to transfer because he didn't play in the spring game. Had a wedding, if I'm not mistaken. You think about, the secondary, quite frankly, the Achilles heel of this team from a year ago. You knew it was insanely talented, but what does that mean? This season it has meant they give up almost nothing. I mean, a couple of busted coverages tonight, but nothing that ends up adding to anything of significance. And you know what? Maybe this team's an offensive running team now.
Yeah.
With some occasional big plays in the passing game, throw it to the tight end. Matthew Golden continues to play well down the stretch. They're not getting anything out of Isaiah Bond, but he drew the pass interference, but didn't catch a pass, and it's just kind of been that way for him in the last 6 weeks. And
there's probably where he and Quinn were off on third down. They're on different pages, so they got to get that.
But hey, like Quinn, I didn't see him limp off tonight, and so that's progress because in last week, the ankle from the OU game popped up again. I don't even think he finished the game. I think he struggled to get through it, even if tonight he doesn't put up a big performance. Again, if this team can win next week and get a week off and just woo-saw it out a little bit, I think that they're poised to do big things. Of course, winning the SEC championship would be kind of an important thing inside of that as well. Brian, did I put this up there? Yes, I did. $9.99. Thank you very much. How about the performance with the key recruits in the house? Jason, what do you think this did? How about Arch and Blue on those 2 clutch plays? Wisner was a beast. Bo, who? D-line were dogs.
Shout out to Kenny Baker. That's a good point. What do I think was good for recruits? Not a ton in the 2025 cycle. I mean, who knows? Maybe Susie saw something, so he showed up. Nick Townsend was supposed to be there, so I think he would be too swayed by it. But I tell you what, it might help. Kind of touched on it earlier. Some of the underclassmen, some of these underclassmen are still looking strongly. Both Texas and Texas A&M. I mean, they had to probably love the environment. So Texas getting the win is certainly going to help Texas' position. So, productive day for Texas. I'll be working the phones. We got signing day on Wednesday, so it's going to be a busy week. But I'll be working the phones, kind of checking some of those.
By the way, I want to remind everybody that we are at the TCH social tonight. Great crowd.
Yeah.
We had about 35, 40 people came out tonight. It was, I think, I would have to talk to the management, but I saw them taking pictures. They seemed happy about it. Great atmosphere. We'll be back next week for the SEC championship game. So if you didn't come out and you're like, maybe I should come out. Sukumel's daughter came out and was like, I'm not hungry. I just had something to eat. And then Jason was
you got to try the bacon.
We're going to get the bad beef bacon. And the next thing you know, a whole Sukumel tribe is like gnawing on.
And she doesn't even like bacon. She doesn't like pork anything. But I said, you like that bacon? And yeah, she ate damn near the whole cup of it. So
good for her. Our guy Patrick for $10. Texas defense and running game. Let's fucking go, Patrick. Thank you very much for the super chat. Yes, let's go. And that is this team's identity. I think that the presence of Arch and Quinn make it so that you never say that out loud. But it's how they've closed out games this year. They did it against Michigan. They did it against Kentucky. They've done it in various games. They did it tonight where
you knew after that interception, you knew that all those drives, they threw one pass in the fourth quarter. You knew Sark was going to come out and just try to ground and pound. And they did with some success. And A&M was able to.
I think people underestimate how much he wants to run the football. Yeah. He really, that's part of his identity. And, you can't coach with Saban for a couple of years and not come away feeling like everything we do is to set up a running game that we want to close games out with. They did it again tonight. And it was really impressive because it did get to the point where it's like they're not going to throw the ball. And A&M was running aggressive run blitzes to try to get Texas in bad down.
The 8-minute drive like they did, but they still were able to get a couple first downs.
No. Considering everything, Sark basically said, we're done. We're not throwing the football. Enough of that. Again, I think there's a lot of people. Hey, Thomas, come on now for $10. Quinn sucks. If the offense had Arch for a full game, we win by 30. Thomas, no. Come on, Thomas. Don't do that.
We got to come up with a name for that Arch package when he comes in. Although they're going to, if you keep using that, you got to not be so one-dimensional, maybe. Maybe like throw the ball play.
I mean, every once in a while, maybe let that guy throw a pass.
And they will.
He's not Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
But hey, it worked. He hit the prize picks.
Yeah.
He hit his Red Devil zero. I couldn't even believe they put that in there. And prize picks knowing something that the rest of us didn't know. John Lynch for $19.99 says, Hook 'em horns. Love that performance, even though we insisted on making it interesting. Winner, Broughton.
Wisner.
Oh, Wisner. It was okay.
Yeah, Wisner. You know what, John? Yes, it could have been cleaner.
Hall of Fame safety, John.
Yeah, right. And it would have been maybe fun if Texas had blown them out. But you know what? There's also something to be said about a game that's spun in the fourth quarter and closed.
Oh, they played with their food, Jason. Don't do that. They played with their food, and then
but remember in halftime, I was like, "Man, this is going to be a boring game in the second half." So at least,
well, look, my article's not done because they made it too interesting.
Blood flowing a little bit in the second half.
They did. Well, I know this. When that block punt happened, I thought, what happens if this game does get to single digits and Texas has to be at least aggressive enough that you can't give the ball back to A&M, which they did. I mean, eventually the A&M gets the ball back, and then Texas is able to force the fumble that puts the icing on the cake. By the way, what is supposed to be if someone plays with their food, what's the worst outcome of that? Gets cold?
Gets cold, gets away.
How does it get away?
Oh, it's like a lion playing with its live.
I always think of it as like someone's got a plate.
Spaghetti.
Or just
No, I think it's an
I think
animal
it's an
playing
animal.
with its live
Okay.
food. Yeah.
It's a lion
And you're a
chasing a gazelle.
Yeah, it's a threat of it getting
It's
away.
taunting the gazelle. It's like you think you can get away, and then the gazelle gets away, and it's like, oh!
Hell, I may be wrong. I don't know.
I need to look that up.
Yeah.
I was asking I wrote that like you're playing with your food on in my post-game article, and I was like, okay, so then what? What does that mean? You got cold? I don't know. Hey, John, thanks for the $10. We'll keep going to the super chats, knocking them out. By the way, Anwar Richardson will join us from College Station shortly. We're waiting for Chad Hastings as well. He was at the game. He's a soldier if he comes on after that performance.
You guys be nice to Chad.
I think Chad will know that the better team won.
Yeah, and he knew it.
Yeah, I think everybody in that building knows that Texas was the better team.
Chad knew it going in. I mean, he's for being an Aggie, he's a fairly legit.
Ben says game ball to Gooseby in the offensive line. They leaned on that A&M D line and ran the ball down their throat. Game ball to Wisner too. This is championship caliber D. Ben, I haven't posted it yet, but I said I gave out a handful of game balls. Trevor Gooseby got one.
You know, and he had the one false start or whatever, but he was fantastic. I mean, there were a lot of plays where I literally just zeroed in on him to try to see how he did. And I mean, he was fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
See Alex is great.
Outside, and that was against arguably A&M's best defensive player. I mean, A&M's got two really good defensive linemen, and neither one of them really made an impact on the game. Hayden Connor played really well. I thought Jake Majors played really well. I thought DJ Campbell had a couple of awful plays, but it's kind of the DJ Campbell story is that he'll be great for 8 and then have 2 that just leave yourself scratching your head on. And Cam Williams was really good. Kelvin Banks leaving this game early. The game was not even close to being decided when Kelvin Banks goes out of the game. And Gooseby comes in, and you just would not have known that Texas had a backup left tackle to arguably the best player on this team. That is losing maybe your best NFL prospect.
Yeah, so you lose a top 10 draft pick and All-American. Oh, my gosh, this is catastrophic. At a key position, you're like, well, you know what, if Kelvin can't go next week against Georgia, okay, maybe it's not so catastrophic after he's played really well.
No, you're exactly right, Jason. It was one of those things where, I might have to text Trevor's dad this week and just say, congratulations, because that's one of those when you're a parent of a young player and they're getting on the cusp of playing more, but they haven't been leaned on yet. You tell yourself, my boy, he's ready.
You don't really know until you see him out there, right?
And you know what? Like, I bet there was some real, like, okay, here we go. All week long. There was a moment earlier this season where just a couple of weeks ago, there was some thought that he was going to get a start along the offensive line. And then he didn't get the start, but
right.
Yeah.
Made him play a little bit.
It was, again, I 100% agree with you, Oscar, with Ben. I felt the exact same thing. By the way, our guy Oscar jumping back in for 1999. What the F even is a 12th man? Well, it's like an extra guy. It's illegal. But, like I said, great environment, but they never win there. No, that's true.
Somebody in the chat, if you could, were they playing the music behind the bench? Did Sark say that that's not allowed? They have to turn it off
until there was like 2 seconds to go on the play clock.
So I guess maybe that's the rule.
I mean, they did it. So, it'll be interesting to see if the
SEC didn't seem to help much because Texas didn't have a lot of pre-snap penalties and that. I'll start by
Brian, I'm sneaking it in, $1.99. Kenny Baker. Hey, I think that there are still – Kenny Baker actually – he's done an extraordinary job on the field. Recruiting, it's okay.
You got a couple of Texas D-line commits one's at Florida State, Myron Charles, and then there's talk that Florida's trying to get a bunch of guys in tomorrow because the dead period starts on Monday, so Myron Charles and Justin.
What he's done, though, with this group on the field.
On the field's been fantastic. He's been a good recruiter. Hey, we still got 2 days.
No doubt about it. James S. for $9.99. That yardage and score make me sick. But who cares? Hook 'em.
Kind of, pretty much, yeah. I pretty much agree with that. Like, yeah, it could have been a lot more dominant fashion than 17-7, but you know, who gives a crap? Saturday night, Texas just beat A&M.
And look, guys, I know this rivalry has not been played in 13 years, but Jason and I have been working at orangebloods.com for basically a quarter of a century. We have had to run the message board on nights when Texas has lost.
I don't even have to really keep an eye on it.
No,
I should be, honestly. I probably should.
You should. You should. But
it's hard to do during a live show. But yes, but there have been nights where it's like, oh shit, I'm going to be up all night monitoring this message.
Barb's 10 was here earlier watching the game with us at Texas Card House Social, and he was like, I've actually for the first time felt some nerves. And I was like, yeah, because you know if you lose this game, it matters. It doesn't ruin the season, but it kind of does. You know, it would just really A&M in the SEC championship game, and lo and behold, like God forbid, they win. I don't know what to think of Georgia right now. So
it's such a weird year, though. I mean, in the SEC, but just nationally. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get from any team on any given. Hell, I see any given week, any given half. Sometimes, right? I mean, look what Georgia did against Alabama in the tale of two halves there. Ohio State today. Texas from half to half. It's going to make for a wild college football playoff. It's going to be a lot of fun.
For $10, Michael jumps in, says, all is well in the universe right now. Can you say hi to my wife, Samaya, and daughter? Is that Paula? Hook 'em. Samaya. Hello. Paula. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting Michael.
A high and a blown kiss. Blown kisses.
No, hey.
Michael got his $10.
Yeah, no, he wanted us to say hello, and like I will let them know that they're absolutely appreciated. I'm just double checking and making sure there's no other super chats. I think we're good. Matter of fact, I'll just take this one right here. We're going for the corner. It says, by the way, the funniest part of the game tonight is when Arch Manning scored the touchdown. One of the Texas fans that was here at Texas Card House, right on cue, before they turned it over and made it a touchdown, he just started screaming out just the tip. It was it was like a perfect one-liner for exact, because he did just
the tip got
the tip on the pylon. It
tip
was
of the football.
It was no Haywood Jeffries on this night.
Nobody gets that reference.
No, that was just for you. Yeah. It was just for you and Joe Allison, if he's out there watching right now. He says, thanks for the postgame show to get my adrenaline leveled out, drinking my Aggie tears out of my UT mug. Hook 'em. Isn't it glorious? Look, the reason why this rivalry is so good to have back, because A&M fans are destitute tonight. Like, this is...
That's why rivalry games are so great, man.
But Texas is in the SEC championship game.
In their first year.
In year one.
A&M hasn't been ill.
It could have been prevented if A&M could have taken care of business at home.
Do you know when A&M first went to the SEC? I remember riding on Orange Bloods. I'm going to miss this game. I got shouted down so badly from Texas fans. Like, F them. I never want to play them again. And I get it in the heat of the moment, but it's good to have this rivalry.
Anwar got a shout out in the Athletic. So Sam Kahn called me up to do what's been going on with the rivalry, and they had me and Billy Bucci and the guys over at Tex Aggs. And I was talking about just the stakes of this. You know what I mean? Like, this will hurt Aggie fans. It'll hurt them. And look, we were sitting around about 35, 40 Texas fans when that block punt happened. And Texas is still up by 10. They're still the number 2 team in the country now, but you could feel jeopardy in a way that other games when jeopardy exists feels different than when it happens in a game you know you can't lose. It was fun tonight. It was good to.
So what did Omar get a call out?
Oh, thank you. I got lost inside my story there and then just tried to save it, and you totally pulled me back. I mentioned in the deal that he wrote that column in 2019. He rebumped the thread this week, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I remember that.
He wrote a column in 2019 that said the rivalry should be played again. And there's like 30 pages of comments calling on basically every name in the book. Stay in your lane, newcomer. You haven't been here long enough to tell us when the rivalry should be played and shouldn't be played. And then 5 years later, it's played. And the glory that exists. By the way, Lucius jumping in. By the way, what a great name. Lucius McDaniel III. Oh, well, I'm going to put it back up on the screen. SEC my ass. I feel like the media talked about how difficult the SEC was prior to us joining. Now our schedule is soft. We beat the teams that others lost to. If we lose in the SEC's championship, how far do we fall? I think that's what it says. Yeah, it says how far do we fall, so I think that's what he meant. Lucius, great name. It's a $20 handle is what that is for a $20 super chat.
Texas will fall. That's a good question.
I think they don't fall out of the top 8.
No, I don't.
Because there'll be 2. So you can't be in the top 4.
No.
So they'll be – and teams keep losing.
So they would get a home game.
Yes. I think they'd be ahead of Ohio State because Ohio State's lost. You know, Texas is if they lose, they're 2.
Ohio State lost to a bad Michigan team. They're not even going to play in their conference championship.
So I think Ohio State's going to be the top 8. So I think you can draw a line at Ohio State and say that if Georgia loses, they're not in the conversation with Ohio State. But if Texas does, they both have 2 losses. Texas will not have a bad loss. They will, I think worst case scenario now we're talking about Texas hosting as a maybe 6 through 8 seed. And, like anything that keeps you out of 9 through 12.
In Lucius Springs says people talk about how difficult the SEC was. Excuse me. It is a unique year in the SEC. There's no dominant team. I mean, Texas is probably the closest thing. Georgia's not what Georgia usually is. Obviously, Alabama. There's a lot of really good in the SEC this year. I don't know that there's any great. I don't know if there's any great teams.
Well, the quarterback play in the league sucks. Like, I watched the South Carolina game today and asked myself, is Sellers at South Carolina the best quarterback in the conference right now?
I haven't paid that close attention. Is he that good? Better than Jackson Dart?
I would take him over Jackson Dart. I don't know that I would take him over Jalen Milroe, but
Milroe can be so good, but he can be so frustrating with that too.
Sellers has not been bad. He outdueled my boy Cade Klubnik today in Clemson's house. And oh, by the way, Clemson with the all-time backdoor successful weekend of all time. They were kind of up like Texas was against Clemson. It's a 14-7 game. They were in total control. I think they might have even bumped it up to 17-7. And then there was 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they just gave it up. And then, even late in the game, Klubnik throws an interception, and Sellers was sensational. So, but in general, is he better than Jackson Dart? How good is Jackson Dart? I don't know.
I mean, someone throws 500 yards one week, and then the next week he kicked.
And that is kind of the state. Yeah, it really is. And you know what, Lucius? The thing about your comment, that's what we've known about the SEC, is that the reality of the conference is that for the last 10 years, Georgia and Alabama and occasionally LSU carry the water. Yeah. And then everybody else piggybacks off of the Georgia and Alabama success. And it's like the SEC is the best conference in America. Well, no, in reality, it's super top heavy. And the top heavy part is the best part of college football year in and year out. But the conference as a whole, they can be had. Oklahoma State went 0-9 in the Big 12.
That's insane.
And they beat Arkansas earlier in the year.
Pretty good team.
But I mean, that's my point though. Like, you can take bad Big 12 teams and play them against a non-power SEC team. And I think you got a game. Texas is the banner carrier for the SEC right now. They really are. James for $9.99 says this is the best passing game. The best the passing game has looked since Florida. James, it's a local one. actually threw the ball down the field, and Quinn was pretty accurate for the most part. No, I mean,
he had a couple that were pretty.
It did show a lot of guts running. Look, this was a guts game for Quinn Ewers. And you know what? It's a legacy game for Quinn. He is only, if I'm not mistaken, I got to remember who it was. He's either the third or fourth quarterback in the last 50 years for Texas to beat Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M in the same season. Colt McCoy did it in 2008 because Arkansas was on the non-conference, and Texas played them and beat them like 52-17. It's a sneaky one. I kind of forgot about that. And then you've got I got to go back and look the damn stat up. Somebody did it in like 77, maybe McEachern. I think McEachern's on the list, but it's not a long. It's a short group of guys. And look, man, Quinn Ewers going to go pro when this season's over, and he's going to end his career with a winning record against Oklahoma. He didn't lose to A&M. He beat Michigan. He beat Alabama. Like, Quinn's put together quite the resume. And I agree with people who say that he doesn't get enough respect. I know a lot of people think that sometimes I'm part of the problem, that I don't respect Quinn enough. And it's not the case, because I think that Quinn Ewers is the third best quarterback in the modern era of Texas football, which feels like that's ahead of Chris Sims. That's ahead of Major Applewhite. That's ahead of James Brown. That's ahead of some really good players. It's only Vincent Colt that I don't think he's been better than.
You know what part of the problem is? Where I don't think he gets as much respect. I mean, we'll have moments like today, but the fact that he's got Arch Manning sitting behind him.
Well, that's part of it, but I also think he also was the number one quarterback in recruiting, and the expectation is that statistically he would eventually – he's a winner. He was a winner in high school. He's been a winner in college. Look, 22-2, I guess not technically because he didn't start all of those games, but this team 22-2 in the regular season in the last couple of years. The thing is, he just hasn't gotten old.
Well,
and I know personally, Jason, that that's the standard I'm talking about him trying to get to. And then I think this season his lows have been really low. So there's some nuanced conversation.
He's described as a generational talent coming out of high school. So people have such crazy high expectations. Whatever, fair or not. But has he lived up to those? Sometimes. He'll show flashes of it, but maybe not quite consistently. But, I mean, a lot of credit to Quinn.
I just want to throw out there that the Longhorns beat Texas A&M tonight in College Station, and nobody has sent in $100 super chat. I'm just saying, no one has done that, and I kind of expect it to happen. So somebody out there, let's get this thing going. Clay says, guys, I hate to say it, but on the back end of that, on that note, guys, I hate to say it, but Quinn is all but a liability. Must give Arch meaningful snaps. Serious question: was Quinn better last year than this year? No, it's about even.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the statistics. He's actually a little bit worse this season, but I give him some slack. We know that he probably wasn't all the way back. By the way, we'll just sneak this one in. David for $1.99. Sark for governor. Hey, okay. If Sark can turn the government around with the same way that he's turned this program around in a very short amount of time.
You wouldn't be getting any votes out of College Station.
No. But like the current governor's a big UT fan. So it's not like Abbott hides the fact that he loves him some UT. He's always around Altife, and anytime there's an event that he can get to where he can rub shoulders with the Texas leadership and coaches, he's there. Let's see. John Lynch, do we know for $4.99? Do we know if Asusi made it to the game? Hope this game helps with recruiting, as was alluded. Great stuff from all of you this week and all season.
I don't know, John. I'm sorry. Been so focused on the game that I haven't had a chance to check on Asusi. I'll check. In fact, I'm supposed to talk to him tomorrow if he did make it to the game, just for one kind of final checkup before signing day on Wednesday. So stay tuned on Orange Buds. Hope I'll have an update from Mike Asusi tomorrow.
Jody jumps in. Is that Jody or Judy? It's Jody. So again, guys, apologies. I'm having to squint to read some of these super chats. The screen's very small. For $10, I would like to apologize to Pete Kwiatkowski.
A lot of people should.
All the orange flowers for the squad's performance. Hook 'em and beat Georgia. Hey,
A lot of people should apologize to PK.
it's not just Gary Patterson.
Exactly. Yes.
Gary
That was so
Patterson
unfair
is
to
not.
Kwiatkowski, Yeah.
Yeah, there are some people that believe that Patterson sprinkled magic dust and that he
Yeah.
gets even all the credit.
I don't know if he's still doing it from afar. I don't know. But, hey, Gary Patterson was at the Georgia game.
I think people forget that Kwiatkowski was really successful
Yeah,
before he came
exactly.
to Texas. That was considered a monster hire when it was made.
Well,
and
and Sark hired him because he said, hey, that guy gave me fits whenever I had to play against him. So who would know better than Sark if he's a good defensive mind?
Michael says for $10, that was a straight up ass kicking. Michael, you're right. It was. It was a dominating performance, even if the score doesn't reflect it. Would have been nice to win by 30 so that Big Bad 12th man would have had zero fun and left early. Disappointing. Texas gave them losers some hope. Oh, well, hook 'em. Hey,
Even
Michael,
Aggie fans know that Texas kicked the shit out of it despite the score.
Michael, here's the deal. There's no moral victories in this. In fact, if and when Chad Hastings joins us here momentarily, I'll just straight up ask him, hey, Chad, you feel better about what happened because y'all got 7 points on the pick six? Does that soothe your hurt feelings today? Believe me, they could have won by 30 in a lot of ways. They know, man. It was an ass kicking. It was absolute ass kicking. And if you were to go over to TexAgs or Aggie Yell and read the responses on the message boards, they don't seem comforted by the moral victory of only losing by 10. Chris for $4.99 jumps in and says A&M has been in the SEC for 13 years and not one SEC championship appearance. It took Texas 1 year to get to Atlanta.
I said that earlier. That's got to be a kick in the you-know-what for A&M. Texas, and they're the ones who had a chance to prevent it from happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's their undoing, and Texas does it in year 1.
You know, it's funny. Will A&M be ranked
What were they coming into this?
19th? Something like that. You know, they lost to Auburn, and they were 15th.
Shouldn't. They're not top 25.
What did you think of Marcel Reed?
Okay, good young quarterback. Made a couple mistakes, but you can see the talent there, and he's still very young. So I mean, I can see him having a bright future. But he made some young mistakes. Forced the ball a couple times. The fumble at the end of the game. Yeah, I was good athlete. I mean, I thought he was a pretty good player.
By the way, someone makes a great point. You know, Texas wins next week, and Texas could still emerge as the number 1 seed.
Because Oregon will play
Indiana. And Oregon beats Washington pretty easily today. You know, maybe it would take an Indiana win to make that happen. And I don't see that happening. Although we'll see.
Yeah, it's scary enough they could make it. I mean,
The thing is, Ohio State out-talented them. You can see pieces of it where you're like, oh, we've been wondering what it would look like if Indiana played Alabama. Ohio State has the most amount of super blue chips, even more than Georgia coming into the season of any team in the country. So they're when their players are on, it looks like Georgia. It's like, oh, this is what it looks like when they do that. I don't think Oregon's quite like that. Now, they're more talented than Indiana, but I don't think they have quite the physical hosses, man for man. That could be an interesting game
they got a good enough quarterback that can make any game interesting with their offense. But
By the way, if you're wondering, I should just peek. Before I go to any other super chats, did anybody send $100? Huh? Mark? Close? Mark!
the decimals in the wrong place.
No decimals. No decimals for $1.99. I don't even know what Mark was trying. Mark, were you tipping the dealer? Thank you. It was nice of you. But there's a decimal in there. It looks like we're slowing down on the super chats, which might be that Onwar shows up in a little bit and we don't have 45 super chats to run through. And then
It is 11. Oh, wait, everybody's still selling.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. ATX Bates. What up, ATX Bates? Great seeing you again here at the Texas Card House Social. What's that?
Onwards here.
Oh, is he? Where'd you see him? Oh, he's here. He's actually here. I just don't. Oh, there he is. Wait. You know what? I'm not going to waste any more time. ATX Bates, I just want to bring in Anwar Richardson. I don't want him just waiting. Give me just a second. Your Weisner, Broughton, Gooseby, whoever the
Yeah.
what does that say? The Road Shop Magical, Juju. Yeah, man. The stuff that was on Quinn's ankle was good. Anwar Richardson joining us from Kyle Field, where for a while Anwar the stadium was shaking, but not in the end, at least not amongst the home fans. Longhorns handled their business, going to the SEC championship game. That is the story of the night, not any of the what happened in the second half that made this game still a game. It was a performance that at the end of the day got the job done. And it's not a time of the year to be nitpicking style points. And in a lot of ways, it was a dominant performance.
Yeah, I think when Sarkisian was talking about the performance after the game, he really just mentioned that he kind of described it that he felt like they dominated and it felt like they just had some couple of unfortunate things. He felt like the tip ball. He was like, that's kind of, the unfortunate thing, the special teams. But he said it was only like 3 little mistakes that were made. And really outside of that, he felt like they dominated from start to finish. He felt like they did great on a defensive standpoint, fantastic on fourth downs. Obviously, being able to have those stops were great. He said Vernon, Alfred Collins gotten a lot of praise, but Vernon Broughton was the guy that really stepped up and came through for them tonight. And he says he's got to go back to see, even off one of those last plays, if he was kind of involved with that. And so for him, like you said, he felt like it was a great defensive game for them. It really felt like from start to finish, they were able to contain Reed. He felt like they were really disciplined on defense. He only had a couple little big runs, but outside of that, he felt like they were able to contain him. And then, of course, the compensation of Quinn, came about. And he basically said that, the guys earned his trust and he believes in them. And, he basically challenged Quinn on Thursday, like, hey, man, if you're going to go this weekend, I need to see a good practice from you on Thursday. He said Quinn delivered. And at that point, he knew Quinn was going to be good to go for him. And he said, even though he's not 100%, he felt that would be good enough. And it's being proven right. When it's all said and done, it's like sometimes some people like they question Sarp, but then when he finishes 11-1, I'm not quite sure what you can say to a person who does it that way, So at the end of the day, to your point, they move on. He's excited. They get a chance to obviously play against Georgia again. But to come in here in Kyle Field, he was really excited about that. And someone asked him about some of the guys were trying to stomp on the logo afterwards, and he stopped it. And he said well, one, he just saw a brawl with Ohio State and Michigan, so he goes, I was watching that in my hotel room. He also said, there's a way to win with class, and that's not the way to win. And so he goes, I don't want stomping on logos, planting of flags, anything to that effect. He goes, it's always supposed to be about us and not about everybody else, about what they do. So, and he said, at some point, he did say, I'm hoping that at some point when it happens to us, that the opponent will do the same as far as having class is concerned. So, so from start to finish, I think he felt really good about everything that happened today.
There was a flag planting in Tallahassee today.
Yeah, there were like 3 full-on brawls.
It was crazy.
Games.
Did you see the mascots were brawling too?
No.
Oh yeah, the Arizona State and Arizona mascot were actually throwing blows on each other.
There were blows being thrown everywhere. The Florida State, same situation. Flag plant, and as it turns out, 18 to 22-year-old guys get very territorial about the center of the stadiums that they play in. Hey, real quick, before I ask Anwar the next question, Money B for $20, giving flight book to ATL. That was a beatdown catch. Get Billy and Kieran on the shows this week. D-line caused havoc. Money B, I will do exactly that. I will I'll do that by Monday, and we'll see what we can come up with. Be safe going to Atlanta. Look for Anwar. He'll be out there. Orange Bloods.
Yeah,
I
gotta book my ticket.
well, then there's that. Good luck with that. You may have to fly out of Houston or something like that. Or go walk, I don't know. Anwar. So, first time for you at Texas A&M to see a game. From your perspective, what was tonight for you? Like, what will be the lasting memories for you? Did the crowd blow you away? Was the experience what you thought it would be? Paint a picture for those of us that weren't there.
You know, it's interesting. It may be because the results are a little bit different. They do get a lot of credit for the crowd noise. I will definitely give them credit for that. I wasn't as impressed as I thought I would be. I was expecting a little bit more. I don't know what it was, but I expected a little bit more. I kind of the stadium. It's kind of like I hate to. Okay, it was kind of like being like glorified Texas Tech. If I'm just being quite honest with you, like I felt like it was just a lot of brown that was around here, a lot of flat land that was around here. I was just kind of unimpressed with it. I liked the seat.
They don't really do trees.
No, but the seat outside the stadium was cool. Like they had a lot of tailgating and stuff, but like inside they have like these small little jumbotron screens. It's like kind of a little bit of an outdated stadium, but I don't necessarily have like an authentic feel about it. Honestly, I was kind of more impressed when I went to Bama and Arkansas. And be quite honest with you, this was didn't live it up for me, and I was expecting, like I came with all open and I was expecting it. They have they have a crowd, but I don't necessarily think it was super crazy. And yes, the stadium does sway, and I'd actually need some engineer to kind of explain if this is how it was designed. I'm assuming there was some sort of like California like earthquake design where buildings.
When they tell you that everything's okay, it's not easy to believe that.
I need an engineer to explain to me like how they decided to build this stadium.
109,028.
Yeah, again, you can't deny that there's a shitload of people that was here. I just don't know how much of an impact it had as relates to the game, because I mean you can silence them pretty easily when you're starting to have the success that Texas had, and it doesn't really negate some of the things that they did. I thought Elko, towards the end of that game catch, Elko runs off a lot of clock in that last kind of almost 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I would say, where he runs off a lot of clock. Then they actually call a timeout like 40 seconds later, only to come back out and fumble the ball. I was just like, sometimes I was just like, what the hell are you doing? And then their fourth down play, I thought was kind of weak. I mean, you're in fourth and inches, and you do some like. Now, instead of just doing a direct snap under center, you decide that, okay, well, I'm just going to challenge this Texas defensive line who you haven't had a ton of success against. Like, I just thought some of the play calling from Elko was a little bit sketch towards the end, which I wouldn't be totally happy with. I thought it was okay. I don't know. I thought it was okay. I wanted more. I just kind of shoulder shrugged it. I didn't walk away feeling overwhelmingly impressed.
There's a bigger game to play next week against Georgia in Atlanta for the SEC championship. And sometimes that's just the damn truth. Paul says, damn, Anwar. But hey, I asked Anwar a question. He gave us an answer. That was the answer. Hey, what's your before we get to some super chats and kind of continue on, actually, you know what? I'll take this super chat because I hadn't thought about this. Steven asked any word on Kelvin Banks.
All he said was his ankle, and that's all he has right now. And so, if you guys want to start next week with playing the Steve Sarkisian injury update game, you can start it now. But good luck with that.
Richard from Rogue Shop. By the way, Richard, you should have come out to the card house. I was looking for you all night long. Come on, man. You should have come out with us tonight. And it's not too late, although I got to be honest, I'm probably going to go find a hotel and crash when this thing's over with. Rogue Shop says, Onward, to be honest, which crowd is more rowdy? DKR fans or Aggie 12th man? Lastly, who has the better pregame experience?
That's a really good one. I would I've heard I would say it's DKR because I think their sound system is better than the sound system here. They do, the towel thing adds a little bit more to it, but they also end up sometimes getting easily discouraged. I've just noticed that too. And so I would say now pregame, that's a really good one. The atmosphere outside the stadium of DKR is better because of the boardwalk stuff, I would say. And then of course the music that they have here. And I think the entrance is a little bit better as well. It was good, but I would say that there's better that's out there.
Onward, what's your lead tomorrow for the Sunday pulpit? What's the hook from tonight?
I'm debating back and forth because there was so much written about Quinn that this past week that I feel like if I just went defense the first thing in the morning and didn't tell the story of Quinn this week, I might be doing disservice, right? I think that was the biggest story of the week, and I think everyone needs to know what Sark thought about it, why he went with him, and why when we go into Atlanta, I don't care what you think, and I don't mean you, Catch, I mean anybody. He's going to start his guy. Like he did mention that, hey, they've been working on a couple little things as far as making sure that Quinn got a couple of reps this week, and he did say they'd have that little package ready, and they just decided to implore it this week. But I think I have to write about Quinn. I think it would be a disservice to OB not to explain why Sark made the decisions that he did.
No, it's the biggest story of the game going in. You can't pretend when the game's over with that he wins that, it wasn't an important story anymore. And, and I think that happens to Quinn sometimes. I think Quinn's accomplishments get poo-pooed. There's always, he's got to do the next thing. But if he throws a pick six or he has a fumble, for whatever reason, those things seem to linger on people's minds sometimes.
Hey, by the way, though, out of curiosity, Catch, tell me again, how many, and I probably should know this, but I'm blanking on the North Carolina coach that was here at Texas. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Mac Brown.
How many conference championships did he win?
2.
So Sark has a chance to match him next week.
Yes.
Within
that
4
is
years.
Not lost on
one of which is an SEC.
So within 4 years, he has a chance to match what Max did in double-digit seasons.
No, absolutely.
That's pretty damn impressive.
Well, next weekend is one of the biggest games in, I think, the history of the school until you start playing more playoff games. And then all we'll ever remember are the playoff games and games that played for championships. But they've never played for an SEC championship. It's year one. To do so would you'd be able to put your flag down in this conference. You remember in the Chappelle show when Rick James just comes in and puts his feet all up on the couch?
Yes.
That's what you do if you're Texas and you win next week. You're putting your dirty ass shoes up on the white, nice couch.
That couch that they would tell you that you're not qualified to be on, that you can't, it's like when you go in, you remember sometimes you go into someone's house and they're like, you can't step on this rug.
Yes.
and they've told you all the reasons why you can't be on this rug, and to your point where you want to use the couch, all the reasons why. Oh snap, shut up. 99.9 super chat just came in. I got nothing else to say.
All right, well, hey, when Barb's 10!
Barb's, all right,
Barb's, we've already given you a shout-out on the show today. We told the story, just some of our conversations in the pregame. For catching Jason at the TCH social watch party, Unc, for the fit, but who pissed you off? For the fit, but who pissed you off? Awesome Texas D and my man in the Home Depot hat. That guy was fantastic. In the stands with Aggies all around. The Aggie in-laws quiet on the text thread. Hashtag Horns versus everybody. Thank you,
Well, he has a lot. He has a lot for us to address. So for 100, so tell me real quick, like, how's the TCH social watch party? How was that today?
It was awesome. We had about 40 people, 35, 40 people that were here tonight. It was very packed. A lot of people brought families out. There were younger people here tonight. which led Jason to having his daughter come
Yeah, my
out.
daughter came out.
So it was good. It was really good. I think the Card House guys will feel really good about where we were week 1 versus where we are tonight. And going into next weekend's watch party here at the Texas Card House Social on 183 in Anderson Mill. We'll be here 3 o'clock, Georgia. For those of you that don't know, it's not prime time. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon next week. And we will be.
Are you guys going to do, by the way, are you guys going to do a watch party? Because I got to answer who pissed me off, too, by the way.
Oh, you're right. Hold on. Angry Hammer, I'm going to come back to you in a second.
Are you guys going to do a watch party on Sunday for the playoff selection game? The playoff selection stuff?
I haven't. We'll talk about that in a meeting.
Okay.
We'll do something, but yeah. Thanks for planting that seed. I will give some thought over the next 12 hours.
I'm glad he liked the fit. No one pissed me off, but I can't say I'm a little annoyed. Okay, I'm just a tad bit annoyed.
Why?
Because if we had reported all week long, it made it seem like there was a possibility that Quinn was not going to play in this game. And if we had put out all the scary things that other people were allowed to put out this week, and then not being told, like our readers would have demanded to know why is Quinn running for a 26-yard, run? Like, why is he out here doing all this stuff? It doesn't seem like it's a real issue, even though he's not 100%. But you guys made it seem like he may not play. They may have to go with Arch as the starting quarterback. So it's a little annoyed that no one's like, okay, hold on. Let's go back to those people and ask them, what did you guys report and why and who are your sources? And everyone just kind of shoulder shrugs and then moves on. I'm a little annoyed.
I think it's the biggest reporting story of the season is this week and going into the game with so much on the line. Kudos, Anwar. It's not a small detail that you were the first and only reporter, both locally and nationally, that reported about the MRI on Sunday. The War Room on Wednesday. It's funny. I've laughed about this with Jason a couple of times. Anwar, he moved relatively well tonight.
I mean,
that's what relatively well looks like. He did it.
No one said, I didn't say he was 100%. They said he moved relatively well. And guess what? He had a 26-yard run. He didn't limp up and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God. So anyway, a little annoyed, but then Tom G has told us to shut the hell up. So then we'll move on.
Well, hold on, just real quick, because I didn't want to tease Angry Hammer's $50 by putting it up and then taking it down and then
fair enough.
Not going back to it. I'm here. I love that he just said, I'm here. But I couldn't miss this one. Poor Aggie. Where do you guys think the line opens for the conference championship game? I'll say Texas by 4.
I was going to say 3.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.
I'm thinking 3.
I'll be interested to see. Now I want to know what the line's going to look like. Because I think on a neutral field, I think Texas is. I don't know. We'll see. I think Vegas.
There'll be a hook in there somewhere.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about that. All right. Let me find Tom G. I see Barb's. Come on, Tom. Where are you at? I'm scrolling down. Oh, there we go. Tom. Oh, Tom. That's what's up. That's how you celebrate Texas beating Texas A&M. $200 makes me holler. Texas putting little brother in the corner was great to see. Anwar looking sharp, my friend. Catch, hit me up if you head to TCH Austin next Saturday. I need to make it once this year. I think Sark using the Arch package was a setup for how it will expand against Georgia.
You might be right about that. I mean, you put him in there, but and then you try to hit him with a play action pass or something.
Well, the good thing is that, he last week we kind of poo-pooed something that Tom said. I can't remember specifically what it was. I think it was something Arch related. But this week, though, you throw Arch out there, you've put something on tape for Georgia to kind of account for. And then if you do the play action, and Benjamin Blackwell is raised the ante. So let me just shut up real quick. But Benjamin Blackwell is raised the ante. I think there's something absolutely to that, by the way.
I was complaining earlier that nobody had dropped $100. The
You just needed
battle
me
is
to come
on.
on.
And by the way, Tom,
You just needed me to come on the show to get the thing started, apparently.
hey, onward. Sometimes when you're right, and you're right, and you're right. By the way, Tom, I will connect with you this week. I haven't thought out what I'm doing Saturday. I don't know if I'm going to be at the Card House next week. I might. We didn't even know until tonight that it was definitely going to happen. We'll play it by ear. We'll see. I will let you know on what's going on. Benjamin, for $2.99, was hoping. Is it hoping? What does that say? Okay, there's just a random ing. Chad was going to jump in here. Love the show. Good game, Tom G. Oh, damn.
Well, we were hoping Chad might jump.
He gave Tom G the good game, good effort, which is an oldie but a goodie from back in the day. Benjamin, look. Chad said we need to let Chad grieve. He'll get it on Monday. I get it. Let me put you like this: Liverpool plays Man City tomorrow at 10, and then I won't have waited 13 years for that game. And if Liverpool does, I'm going to be here, by the way. I'm going to come watch it at the Texas Card House Social. If they don't win, I don't want to do any shows for a few hours either. That's not the school that I went to playing the biggest football game that probably has been played at Texas A&M in a while, with all due respect. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I was missing. I thought maybe Tom G came back and put his what on the table and said, I'm not going to be toyed with. You're not going to toy with my emotions. Hold on. Texas says Chad is crying. Chad's not crying. Chad's not happy. And then my man here says, Liverpool, kidding me? No.
Man, Liverpool's been kicking ass, man. I'm so tired of them.
I'm not kidding you that I am a fan of the best team in the world right now.
Liverpool's been kicking ass, and they're really annoying at this point.
Well, so is Arsenal. This is not.
Okay,
no,
sorry.
No. Jamari? No. But nice try. No. We do have a few super chats. We have 11. We want to knock a few out while we wait to see if there's any other.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. I'm multitasking. I'm looking up tickets as well.
You do that. We'll knock.
I'm multitasking. I'm doing both.
And look, we're gonna get out not super late tonight because it's late. It's been a long day.
Oh, we're gonna do an anti-Chad Hastings show, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but we're already an hour 20 in.
Oh, Chad don't want to stop until about 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Well, if Chad hops in here, then
I'm out. I will leave.
Yeah, Jason's like, hey, I didn't sign up for that either.
I'm leaving in protest.
ATX base for $4.99 says MVP. Oh, I said that earlier. Wisner, Broughton, Gooseby, whatever the Broke Shot Magical Juju, Mr. Miyagi stuff they did to Quinn's ankle. Any other game balls we want to give out in spirit of ATX's game balls?
Well, Wisner and Broughton were my two, my post, but Gooseby too.
Those were the three in my column that I haven't posted yet that I gave game balls to in the column. I think onward, I'd give that entire offensive line a game ball. Michael Kern. No, just kidding. Sorry. Had to sneak that in there. The punt game today left a little bit to be desired. And
Taft had a couple big plays.
Taft can get a game ball. The whole defense gets a game ball.
Honestly, yeah, it's weird. The defense was so dominant, but there weren't a ton of other than Broughton. There weren't a ton of individual ones.
Hard for me not to give Ethan Burke a game ball just for one play.
He did have 4 tackles, 3 solo, personal tackles.
That was the play of
and if he didn't get him, Broughton was right there to make the play too. So
Broughton was so good. On what we were talking about earlier, that was a guy that missed the spring game, and there were people that wondered if that meant he was going to transfer. and he's
made himself some money tonight.
He's an NFL player. He's really turned it on, and Kenny Baker has done a great job, and we've given him his flowers tonight.
But there was people who questioned, did he even love football? Because they said like, hey, what kind of person is just like, oh man, I'm just gonna miss the spring break and get married? And there were people who were like, this guy, he may not even love football.
I would be, if I was Vernon Broughton, I would put a Kobe, how's my ass taste message on social media for everybody.
And Mrs. Broughton as well.
Yeah, Mrs. Broughton.
Dude, his mom's, his wife, you're talking about, his mom is an awesome person.
They need to cut like a Not Like Us diss track.
Vernon's too nice. What I know of Vernon, he'd never do that. I'm happy for Vernon and happy for his mom, Yolanda, who is seriously one of the nicest women.
Look at Jason.
No, she really is, dude.
Look at Jason name dropping moms. He's the king of
love
moms.
I love
he knows them all. John Lynch says, turn it into an expensive video for me. LOL. John's been involved, but he hasn't done $299.99. John, just saying, we're still raising the stakes up a little bit. But he wanted to give Quinn some credit. Some of the better downfield throws of the season tonight. The ball to Matthew Golden for 43 yards. It's one of the best throws he's made all season.
The first deep throw he had, right? We were like, oh no.
I mean, he had some balls that went all over. He sprayed a few.
Yeah,
but that's the kind of timing ball that he never really found a lot of success with Xavier Worthy. You think back to that Alabama game. That was a different kind of deep ball in that Alabama game. He just kind of moonballs it. The guys run underneath it. That's a timing ball that he threw today, and it was perfect. And there was a lot of good in that second quarter on ball. He had a 206 quarterback rating in the second quarter, and it looked like that. Like he was really, really good. It fell off, but I think the good news is it fell off not because of injury. It fell off because a ball got tipped. It fell off because a guy chased him down from behind and punched the ball out. But I'll be honest, I would trade those two things in order to have Quinn come out of this game. If you could say Texas can score 21 more points in this game, and Quinn comes out of it limping, or you just win 17-7, but your starting quarterback looks no worse for wear. Give me the 17-7. There's a game next week. Quinn Ewers needs to be as close to 100% as he can be. He's not that, but he was certainly – it didn't feel like his problems were injury-related. And you know what? Quinn's going to make a bad throw every once in a while. Quinn occasionally will turn the football over. But health-wise, I couldn't have dreamed that he would come out of this game looking as well as he did. I think it's very low-key, something that people aren't appreciating enough, that there will be no questions next week about who the starting quarterback will be. And it's because he was able to get through this game in such a way that you don't have to ask the question. And kudos to Quinn for gutting it out. I'm sure it wasn't easy. Who knows how he got to the point where he played through that? I have no idea. Was it that just as good as it was? Were there any painkillers involved? Like, it's football at this level. You never completely know. But Quinn surviving tonight is paramount for me when we start talking about success next week.
And the thing is, Catch, I think this kind of goes back to a little bit where I think Sark has earned enough, trust from us at this point that you got to feel like if he's throwing people out there, for the most part, he's probably going to be right more times than he's wrong about these guys. And so, if he's deciding like, hey, I'm rolling with Quinn and these are the reasons why, you got to say to yourself, okay, it's the same way we kind of went into the season. You're like, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, after Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy. Like, are you sure about that? Like, you sure? And at the end of the day, we're like, oh, yeah, that was actually a really good choice. And at the end of the day, if Sark feels like I can get enough out of this guy to get a win, and this is, I only need, there's 10 things I would love for him to do. But if I can get him to do 6, I know we can win this game. Hey, to your point, yes. And then catch, if you're Texas, if you can get past Georgia and then just be able to sit Quinn for the, at least rest the ankle for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Isaiah Bond too.
Isaiah Bond, yeah. I mean, Isaiah Bond.
DeAndre Moore, yeah.
If you can rest those guys for the next few, you just say, look, it just needs to get to one more week. And look, Georgia's shown you, like, come on, Georgia Tech was hanging with this team. Georgia Tech should have beat this team, right? So you can tell yourself, these are the things that we can do differently. Get past Georgia and then sit for the next few weeks. I think that's a great thing for Texas as far as the playoff run is concerned.
1,000% agree. We got a 49.99 from Hookem. Been listening to y'all since 2021. Wow. I never participate in the chat, but y'all are the best. Poor Aggie. Hookem. Thank you, Hookem, for the Hookem. And look, if y'all don't know this about me after 25 plus years, I love a good poor Aggie. When I do eventually post my article,
so I signed off on mine. I already beat you to the punch.
Just because you beat me to the punch does not mean that I'm not going to use it. Hookem, thanks a lot. Here's what we're going to do. We've got a few super chats. Chad implemented a rule last week where it was like, we're not going to give like any attention for the nickels and the dimes. We're going to go rapid fire through this. I will, like John did at $9.99. So John, do we know if Chad can swim? Because there are a ton of Aggie tears floating around. For every year Aggie aces, for every other Aggie aces, we have to get off Quinn's back. We would have killed to have had this level of quarterback for years. John, touche.
He gets judged pretty harshly, but he doesn't.
No, I do. Another $9.99. The Elgin watermelon. Oh my God, the Elgin watermelon. I'll take 2 of those to go, please. Catch. Make sure to stop by that gas station in Elgin on your way back to the Woodlands and pick yourself up some celebratory watermelons. That's
Elgin has like a watermelon festival or something. Is there a gas station that's famous for watermelons?
No, look. So back in the day.
Oh God.
Hold on.
Oh God.
I was in a car with Bobby Burton.
I know this story.
We went to the 7-on-7 tournament, and while we were there, I went inside this gas station and made a connection with one of the girls that was like perfectly registered. And like on the way out, even Bobby and like his wife and a few other people were like, "Hey, that chick kind of seemed like she was in." So I went back a couple of times to try to find her. One time I went back and I was about ready to give up, and she walks in the building. And I'm like, "Hey!" And she's like, "Hey!" So I go down to the watermelon stand that she was working at outside. It was her day off, so she was selling watermelons outside the gas station. And I'm standing there, and we're kind of talking, and eventually she had told me she was a volleyball player at Southwestern. Long story short, her sister was standing there next to a police officer. And when I mentioned that, everybody's eyes kind of got big, and it turned out that the sister was a volleyball player at Southwestern. She was like 14. And the cop eyeballs me when the age gets said out loud. And I just said, "I'll take 2 watermelons to go, please." And that's the infamous Elgin watermelon story. Yeah. That gas station no longer exists. It's like a Walgreens now or something. It's on a corner, and they tore it down, and it's not like it used to be. $1.99. Andrew just wants to give us $1.99. Thank you very much. $4.99 from Colton Thompson. Sark called a great game, but I am the only one who was waiting for just one more play action RPO from Arch when everyone knew he'd run it.
So I said maybe he's setting it up for next week. Probably by design.
Colton, bite your tongue. Let's see what happens either next week or in a playoff. You know they've got some twists.
They're going to bring him in like on a 3rd and 1. Everybody's going to expect power run.
No,
it's going to happen.
Right. And I think that I give Sark a lot of credit. He wants to have a little bit of quarterback action, certainly in the red zone, being able to have that threat. To use Arch this week in that capacity, because it takes a little wear and tear off of Quinn. I thought it made perfect sense. Obviously, it was a game-changing moment very early in the game. Kudos to Sark. Great time to kind of pull that out of kind of nowhere. ATX Bates back again. Texas gave up 2 red zone turnovers, a block punt, missed a field goal, and still covered. It was like thinking you hooked up with a 10, but woke up next to a 7. Can't wait to get a piece of that Beck jackass. Carson Beck. Okay. I was thinking.
I woke up with a lot worse than 7s, ATX. So.
And on that note, we'll move on and knock a few more out on these. We're down to like 6, so I'm just gonna click
That
on
was
randomly.
funny.
This SEC shit was supposed to be hard. Hook 'em. Jake? Yeah. No, Texas has made this look much easier than I think anybody could have completely guessed. Steven for $5. And how about Gooseby coming in and playing hard? Great game from the O-line. Steven, we've given Gooseby a lot of flowers tonight. I will continue to give more to him. I even said, Anwar, might have to just dig in the database and pull out, go to the Rivals database, see if I can find Trevor's dad's number, send him a text, because he had to be nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs when his boy goes into the game at that point. You think your boy's ready. You think, hey, in time, my guys he came in that game and it never even looked like they missed Kelvin Banks at all. Papa's got to be proud. Papa Sorrell's got to be proud. Papa Gooseby's got to be proud. A lot of proud papas, I think, on the 40 acres tonight.
And you know what's interesting? I think what today does, Catch, and you tell me if you agree with me. Today kind of, for me, solidifies that Brandon Baker's got to compete on the right tackle position next year, because I think the left tackle position is Gooseby's.
Yeah, and I mean, tonight he was fantastic. It was one of those things that we'll remember during the offseason, quite frankly, when it's like, how big of a question is the new guy at left tackle? We'll say, well, he came in against Texas A&M against their better players on that side of the ball and made those guys total non-factor.
I said earlier, you lose Kelvin Banks, top 10 draft pick, your left tackle, key position. That's normally catastrophic, right? If he's not able to go against Georgia, I don't know. Trevor Gooseby.
I'm a little less worried now than I think I would.
You still want Kelvin out there, obviously. But yes, you're less worried now than you were 5 hours.
Michael has the final super chat. I'll go look and make sure I didn't miss any. But it says, "Ha ha."
Come on.
Unc said, "A glorified Texas Tech." Just say they ain't shit on more.
I need to get out of here alive.
They ain't shit.
I still need to get out of here alive. But that being I mean, you guys see what's behind me, right? But yes, I was unimpressed. I'm telling you, Arkansas and Alabama impressed me. I was like, wow, this is I could feel it. I felt like it was kind of manufactured. I don't know.
Hooked on the Horn says I missed a $10 super chat. Hooked. I'm going to look for it, but, man, the chat's a madhouse. Guys, while I look for it, we are otherwise out of super chats. Onward, give me a final thought and we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Oh, well, good part, Catch. I was able to book a flight while we were talking, so that's good, and actually won't break the bank, so that's even better. Catch, I think this season is reminiscent to last season, and it may be the seasons to come under Steve Sarkisian, which is there are going to be some games that you look at and say, well, maybe that wasn't as pretty. And you're going to be some games you're going to look at and say, man, I'm not quite sure that was why that needed to be a close game. It will be able to nitpick these things. And at the end of the day, you're going to be sitting here and saying to yourself, back in the conference championship game. It happened last year. It's happened again this year. And it just seems like, you remember, Catch, when Alabama would have those, when they had those great teams, but then they would play some directional school of some sorts. And then all of a sudden it's like a life or death competition. You're like, why the hell is Alabama struggling against Western Kentucky or something to that effect, right? But they would still end up winning. And then at the end of the day, they would just go on and win, a national championship. So
Yeah.
it reminds me of that, where it's sometimes not going to always look good. But man, Catch, when you look at some of these other teams, I think I was talking to Greg Sankey before the game today, right? And I asked him about the three teams, how should a committee view a team with 3 losses? And he kind of gave me his explanation for that, why, because of the conference, so on and so forth. But there's some teams out there who are going to be on the outside looking in, hoping for some things to shake off. Like Georgia's got to hope that if they lose next week, is the committee going to look at that favorably, right? Texas won't have that issue. Texas is more unlikely in. There's a lot of teams, that got on the outside looking in. Tennessee's probably in. South Carolina's on the outside looking in. So I guess that for me, at the end of the day, no matter how things have played out, no matter what you think about Quinn or anything like that, right? At the end of the day, Texas has dropped. It's 11-1. They've 15 points away from being undefeated. Not too many teams have been able to do this, especially in this conference. But we've seen all these teams struggle against teams that people say you shouldn't struggle against. We've seen Georgia struggle against the lesser teams, and Alabama and Ole Miss, and Texas doesn't have that on their resume. So at the end of the day, good win. Texas fans, light up your stogies, go make babies tonight, all of that, because your Longhorns are going to Atlanta.
Jason, I don't have any final thoughts.
I don't either. I said earlier the SEC maybe isn't the murderer's row that we're used to, but boy, it's been a fun first season of the SEC in Texas, right? The hype, the expectations, getting Arkansas back,
Definitely.
Georgia, this game back on the schedule. It's been a fun season. We got a lot more football to play and talk about, but it was a fun run through the SEC regular season.
Luke, you're lucky. Onwar probably kicked me for this, but for $1.99 glorious win, Texas special teams and Beck suck. Okay. Get it in now. Hey, Hooked, here, I cannot find it. So here's what we're going to do. It's been a long day. It's been a long night. I owe you one. Come into House Divided on Monday, and I owe you 2 super chats, okay? I'll even go so far as to give you double time on that. Hit us up either Monday Overreaction Show, House Divided, you name it, we'll catch up. Guys, I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. Drove in from Houston. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. Thank you to the Texas Card House Social for serving as our host at the watch party and here on the postgame show, brought to you by Adam Lowy. We say it all the time. If somebody messes you up, you need to sue them. You need to get paid. Those billboards don't pay for themselves. This sponsorship for like over a decade doesn't pay for itself. He wins you money. He's one of the best in the game. He's one of the best in town. And if you need that kind of support, reach out to Adam and let him win you some money. Take down the bad guys. For myself, for Onwar Richardson, for Jason Sukema, for everybody in the Specs chat, all of the super chatters, guys. Texas has put little brother back in its place in the corner with the dunce hat, streaky underwear, and nowhere to go other than to turn around and look at big, bad, more significant big brother play for things that it's never played for. And that's what they'll be doing next weekend when Texas takes on Georgia, SEC championship. Onwar's got a ticket. We'll be back at the Texas Card House Social next week for the next watch party. Guys, enjoy the night. Go make some babies, or pretend like I don't know. Do something. Do something with some gratification mixed in. That's all I'm saying. And we'll see you next week.